Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. It's the end of the Peacock era, but it's just the beginning of fall for the Juice Box and the Clash in Paris prediction show with the only Josh Isenberg. Josh, welcome to the Juice Box. Are you sad that Peacock is no longer running WWE PLEs?
I don't think I'm sad about it. It was nice that I can actually probably now cancel Peacock because that was 95% of what I had Peacock for, that and King of Queens reruns. But I'm excited for it to go on ESPN. I'm excited for all the stuff that Netflix is doing. But yeah, no, I'm not too disappointed with it. But I'm excited to see what happens after Clash in Paris. And I think Clash in Paris is built up to be a really good show with 5 matches. And we have I think this might be one of the shows that we don't fully agree on a lot of things about, because there's a lot of different ways that they could go here to make intrigue into the fall when NFL is your biggest competition.
Absolutely. And I think that's potentially why they said, you know what? We did Evolution. We had 2 nights of SummerSlam. That seems to have been enough for the Peacock quota. Let's run ESPN in September when we need it the most. And WrestlePalooza is the next show for them. That is going to be wild. I cannot wait to talk about that with you next month. It's going to be a wild just time to have a show go on ESPN. The logistics of it, what they're probably going to run, probably Lesnar, Cena, and who knows what else. Like, the door's wide open, and I'm sure we'll talk about what could end up transpiring there based off this show. There's 5 matches on this show. There could have been 6, with the Naomi situation. They're going to probably settle that either at WrestlePalooza or on a future episode of Raw, but they're going to announce it, I think, this next Raw, which will be Monday afternoon Raw, once again, one of my favorite pastimes. This is the second pay-per-view / PLE to live stream from France since the Backlash 2024 show, which was amazing, if you recall that wonderful PLE back then, over a year ago. And this is the last one on Peacock. It's an interesting era that they had, like 3.5-ish years on the Peacock streaming service. And you know me, I'm almost more concerned about where the classic content's going to end up. And it seems like it might end up on YouTube. And I've brought this up to you, and I'll ask just now, do you agree that YouTube could be the best spot for WWE's classic content because of the vast amount of people it has access to?
I think so. I think YouTube's the easiest access thing as well, to put all that content on there. If they're not making, all the money in the world, keeping the content, on Peacock or Netflix or whatever the streaming service may be, why not make it the easiest accessible one where you really don't even have to log in to look at content there? I think it'd be a really good idea because I know how much they want their kind of, library to be accessible to pretty much everybody, even though there's so much of it. And I think YouTube's probably the best spot for them to put that on there.
Right. And like you said, I mean, you can monetize on YouTube, and WWE owns all the stuff in the clips. So there is no content like copyright strikes. Everything's their stuff. So they're probably making money hand over fist on just throwing random shows or unseen footage. Like it seems like a great model if they were to continue that going forward. And I know there have been some speculation regarding maybe they even throw some of it to a channel on YouTube TV where it's just constantly running classic stuff. And I think that would be another great, avenue for them to travel. So it'll be pretty interesting to see where that goes. Because I remember back when it was WWE 24/7, you had one show like on demand. It was one pay-per-view classic a month, and then you had a month to watch it. And then once it was the next month, that was it. So I remember recording some of those. And now, we had the network, which was, I think, the pinnacle of all of this stuff. Now it's going to change. Some's on Netflix, some was on Peacock, and now YouTube. So quite the vast or vast landscape for classic content. But let's talk current content. 5 matches, Clash in Paris. This crowd's going to be unhinged, as a lot of the international crowds are. Last week, London held AEW's Forbidden Door, and that crowd was great as well, singing, Alter Bridge. And these international crowds really feed off of never getting these shows. So do you anticipate the same with Clash in Paris?
I think so. And I love the fact that whether it's AEW or WWE, they've realized that, and we'll talk more just about WWE. The road to the Royal Rumble, or excuse me, to WrestleMania right after the Royal Rumble was great because you had, 3 Monday Night Raws, I think, in a row where you were international. And that's a great way to get interest in the road to WrestleMania. And it could be, it was 7 weeks, I think, between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So you had a lot of time to do the US shows and then go international and then come back. I also think this is a great time where after SummerSlam, it kind of dips in terms of potential intrigue. Again, with the NFL coming, with a lot of other sports ramping up, this is the best time for them to go international because it makes it feel more important, more exciting. And I love the Birmingham crowd on Monday night. I thought the Birmingham crowd was just electric for, I would say, 90% of the show. There was a few low points where they were just kind of sitting back and watching the wrestling, but it just brings more interest. It just brings more intrigue for people like us in the United States who might go see 3, 4, 5 shows a year. These people might see one show every 18 months, so I'm excited for it. I think Clash in Paris is going to be great. I was questioning if they were going to add a 6th match with Dom and AJ just because of the reception that AJ had last year. But they have them on Monday Night Raw, which is still going to be in Paris. So that makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, and a lot of people will critique this show's card as again 5 again with the oranges, 5 matches. Like, why couldn't you pull off more? Okay, but they're going to be in the same damn place the following night, and why not still kind of continue? If they called it WrestleMania Backlash, they have the WrestleMania Raw, and they have all these kind of extended weeks of what you could have seen on the main shows. Now, I know the WrestleMania Raw and SmackDown are a little different now because we have 2 nights of WrestleMania, so you might not need to put as much on there. But to your point, they're going to announce what Stephanie Vaquer is going to be doing for the Women's Championship going forward. Dom and AJ is going to finally have that match for the IC title, and I do want to say I'm going to predict AJ Styles walking out as Intercontinental Champion in Paris, which will be a really cool thing if that were to take place. And to see what that leaves with Dom, because I'd like to see Dom elevate a little bit or just go another way, find something else to sink his teeth into. Maybe it is, parting ways with Finn or what have you, but looking forward to that. But Josh, let's dive in head first. 5 matches. This is that Triple H, perfect, succinct 5-match card. And, a lot of interesting things on here. We have a match that I don't know what the rules are. I'm sure they'll explain them as no rules, but we'll get to that. 2 championship matches, and then 2 just very intriguing singles matches with a lot of storyline. One that's definitely going to have some implications on WrestlePalooza, I firmly believe. But let's just kick it off with a match that I don't know what the rules are, but we saw this match already earlier this summer on Monday Night Raw, or Monday Evening Raw. It was at 6 p.m. Here in Pittsburgh. This is Sheamus versus Rusev in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match, a Pier Sixer, if you will. Man, these 2 guys, beat the tar out of each other when we saw them. They've done it again backstage with other segments happening. I love the chaos these 2 guys bring. I also wonder if this is leading to a potential tag team in the future, because I kind of like that dynamic of, well, we beat the hell out of each other, but what if we beat the hell out of other people? So what do you foresee in this match in regards to like rules and like, street fight, what have you? And ultimately, who wins the Donnybrook?
Well, I'm excited that Rusev's getting his first singles match on a PLE pay-per-view since 2019. Do you know who he fought for his last PLE in a singles match?
Wow. Ricochet?
Bobby Lashley, TLC 2019. Then he got released about 2 months later, I think, right before the
Wow.
pandemic. Yeah.
I would not have picked. Well, clearly I wouldn't have picked Bobby Lashley.
No, but that was the whole Lana love story line, and which was just absolutely atrocious. But
Yeah. My God, I forgot all about that.
yeah, Matella, yeah. But anyways,
Ah,
so I think this match is going to be a basic street fight. There's going to be that like bar top that we saw previously at ringside, that bar like area.
yeah.
And I think it's just going to be a physical fight. One of the things that I love about Sheamus and Rusev is even though they're not a predominantly big storyline going in, it's more of a mid-card feud. And for so many years, I think WWE lacked mid-card development in terms of their stories. It was just like, oh, I want this IC title. Well, I have it, and here's the match. There's no title here. And I think that benefits both of them. Sheamus is a guy that no matter what he does, he's always going to be Sheamus. So I'm going to pick Rusev to win this match because I do think the return of Rusev was nice to see. Had a little bit of a lull because they weren't really sure what was going on with him or what to do with him. So why not throw him against somebody that can be as physical as him and has a backstory with him already? And I think this really does ultimately lead to them teaming up, kind of like Sheamus and Cesaro did many years ago, where they were like, well, we're both beating the crap out of people. Why not form a tag team, right? So I think that's where this ultimately will lead to. The tag team division on Monday Night Raw it's okay. It's fine. The Judgment Day, defend titles against the LWO. The New Day's kind of doing their odd thing right now. But I think the biggest thing that the Raw tag team division has lacked is like credible, strong opponents. And that's why you don't see the tag team championship potentially defended every single week because they are the same kind of tag team. So overall, I think Rusev wins this match in a 12 to 15 minute, just absolute banger, pun intended. And Rusev deserves to win this match. And Sheamus can lose and lose and lose, and he's still going to be viewed as a former world champion, a former Royal Rumble winner, and all the accolades that he's had. So give me Rusev in this match.
In the words of the legendary Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
I told you we might disagree.
I've got the man who shares a birthday with one Juice Springsteen, the man who I think deserves a little bit of an extra push these days. I'm going with Sheamus. I know Rusev's come back and he's, in theory, he should be ascending. He's a guy that's returned. He needs a little bit extra juice to get back into whether it's the mid card or whatever. I disagree. I think Sheamus should get this win. And ultimately, I do think it does set up like I thought earlier that they end up as a tag team. I do, though, could see this match going either way. Truthfully, these guys they're bruiser, not the coin Pete Dunne, but they are bruiserweights. If that's if I could steal that term, but they just they beat the hell out of each other every single week, and I'm looking forward to a PLE quality banger between these two because your Sheamus, Drew McIntyres, and just the matches that some of those guys had over the past year and a half. Mm-hmm. I don't see why Sheamus and Rusev can't have something similar to a higher standard here on a PLE, and the international crowd is going to eat this up for sure. So give me Sheamus, but I like that we're disagreeing. We'll see how things play out.
We're 0 for 1 together, so we'll see what the other 4 have to offer us.
Something that they have to offer is the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch takes on Nikki Bella. Man, we talk about this all the time, and I just keep getting more like affirmation from the booking that look at the WWE's love for trying to build the mid-card women's championships. You have two clear-cut, automatic first ballot WWE Hall of Famers wrestling for a quote mid-card title. But because it's Becky Lynch, it's Nikki Bella, this championship, this match is so much bigger than the namesake as it is. And Lyra Valkyria had her moments. She was champion. But ultimately, it's the man's time to shine, and she's got new music. And I'm not sure yet if the music fits a heel character, but I don't think she'll stay heel forever. So keep the song for now. The Wonder Years are big wrestling fans, and I like the collaboration. Nikki Bella coming in, I always, thought that she would at one point come back. And again, in years past, I might say, wow, look at Nikki Bella lowering herself for an IC title. But in those days, they never would have had a mid-card titles. And
Yeah.
I think it shows you that because of the efforts of a Becky Lynch or a Nikki or Brie Bella, that an IC title for the women is even possible. So I love that this match is even happening. Unfortunately, though, I think Becky walks away as champion. And we always talk about this too. What is next for Becky Lynch? Who could she defend it against? I think we could see Bayley potentially getting involved here and absolutely staking her claim to try to take that championship. With what character, I'm not sure, but that's for the booking to find out. Josh, what say you?
This is an interesting one because I really do think that Becky will retain, but I am going to just throw a shot in the dark. Nikki Bella, man, this is tough to say. I think Nikki Bella will win.
I win the championship or win the match?
Well, that's another question, right? I just can't see Nikki Bella having a one-off here. There's only one women's match in Clash in Paris. There probably would have been two, if Naomi obviously wasn't pregnant and that happened, it would have been Naomi and Stephanie Vicaire. But there's something that makes me think that Nikki Bella, again, could win by disqualification. I think that's probably the likely thing. I think Becky, as she called Becky a coward, had a really good promo on Monday Night Raw. I don't think they bring Nikki Bella back for like a one-off, even though she was supposed to do more things at Evolution, and with the injury to Liv Morgan, that kind of deterred that. So if they bring Nikki Bella back, she's not the type of person that's kind of like a Trish where she has that one match and goes away for 6 or 7 months. I can see Nikki being in the fold for 4, 5, 6 months. And if she just loses the first, real big match that she's had in many years, I don't know what you do with her aside from being a potential Natalia and try to work with the young girls. But that's just not really what Nikki Bella has ever done. And she can talk about how she wants the young women to, get the opportunities, but she's getting the opportunity here. So the only thing I can think of is a disqualification. It could be, Becky trying to cheat. She gets caught. Or it could be something like Bayley. I don't know I like the Bayley stuff right now. I don't know where it goes from here. And I like that though, because I like the fact that we're hearing, Hugger Bayley and Ding Dong Hello Bayley kind of feuding in her mind. So all in all, I think Becky loses, but I don't know if she loses the championship. I think she sneaks her way out, and you can continue what, Nikki Bella said on Monday Night Raw about her being a coward and her kind of, being scared of, and insecure about who she is. So she has to kind of find a way to keep the title. But I think that Nikki Bella will have a W next to her name after Clash in Paris.
And I do like the booking of that. Now, do you think Nikki would stake a claim to get a rematch on a Raw or maybe WrestlePalooza, a multi-person match? Or do you think it's just for the sake of the W, and then maybe we get like a tag match? You'd like to see like Nikki and Brie versus, like a Becky and someone, but that's not going to happen.
I think she gets a rematch. Yeah.
And just straight up rematch, like on Raw maybe, or?
Yeah, we've seen like mid-card titles be defended a lot more on Raw, which I like because, for so long, it's always been like, a tag team championship match and then, a one-on-one match to end the show. I don't think it's going to be in Clash in Paris on Monday. I'm sorry, after Clash in Paris, Monday Night Raw in Paris. But I think you can prolong that for, a couple of weeks away, or WrestlePalooza would be fine. I think Nikki Bella's name draws a lot more in terms of, the universal eye. So why not have Nikki Bella, who is a brand on that ESPN WrestlePalooza show? I think that there's no wrong answer, to have her on there. I think that she does so much. And even though she's been out of wrestling for a long time, she's been in a bunch of different TV shows. She might not be a mainstream A-list celebrity, but she's up there and people know her name. So I think she would get another opportunity.
And just as you're talking about that, I do have a question for you. We've been talking about, it's 5 matches, and they're going to have maybe a match with AJ and Dom in Paris the following night on Raw, and you're going to get the Vaquer thing. But you just even bringing up like, oh, well, Nikki Bella could bring eyes to WrestlePalooza, and maybe she could be on the card. As soon as you said that, it triggered in me like, yeah, she could be on the card, but you'd think that there would only be so many matches for that show. And then I thought, oh, but it's WrestlePalooza, it's ESPN.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get back to longer PLE cards? Because one, the show's called WrestlePalooza, and I don't think you can do a 5 or 6 match card and call it WrestlePalooza, because you'd think a lot more matches would be on it. And now that it's on ESPN, is the sky the limit? Are they just going to pack these things now, or what do you think is going to happen with that? Because I kind of just thought about that for a second, and it kind of triggered a lot.
Yeah, I think whenever you go to WrestlePalooza and things on ESPN, it might not be every month, where they have only 5 matches. I think the sweet spot, 5's good. But for me, the sweet spot's always been 7. And I think it's always been 7 because you have so many championships right now, and you have so many storylines that continuously, filter through Netflix or on, USA Network, whatever it is for SmackDown and Raw. 7's really good because you'll always have 1 or 2 matches that are under 10 minutes, have a few video packages. There's times where the 5-match card is 2.5 hours, and that's fine. And I think it's, when you have it once a month, it's fine. So for WrestlePalooza, I can see it being 7, potentially 8 matches where you're getting 3 to 3.5 hours. I mean, the biggest plus for them to be on ESPN, even with all the people who love UFC drags out 4 or 5 matches because they don't know when those matches will end. WWE doesn't have that problem, obviously, because they're predetermined and they can script how long a show is going to be. So there's times where I remember watching UFC on ESPN Plus or ESPN, and they announce, 4, 5 matches, right? And the first match could be a minute and a half, and then they have 25 minutes of filler. WWE doesn't have that problem. So I think they could easily make 7, 8 matches more digestible on a monthly basis, or maybe every 2, 3 months. 5 is fine. I think 5's been good for the past couple of years because you've established you care more about Monday night and Friday night. There's been plenty of times where Monday has a mid-card championship or Friday has a tag team title match that didn't make the PLE card, but it's still something that draws people into watching that. 7 and 8, I think, is the perfect sweet spot for me for a card. 3.5 hours, you're good to go. It's not too much. It's not 5 hours like All In or 6 hours, whatever that was. And you remember that, obviously. But
oh my God, I know.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's opportunity there for them to kind of play around with it.
So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they play with the times. And I mean, like with Netflix, like they have a hard out, sure, at some point, but they can kind of make it go as long as they like. And like you said, with the disparity between that and the UFC, where you don't know how long a match could go or a fight could go, I'm very curious to see where ESPN wants to fall. And if we start getting 7 to 8 match PLEs again, man, because with the roster now, I think you could load them up, and it's not going to be as you're not going to get your no offense to these guys, but your Jimmy Wang Yang versus Brian Kendrick on the undercard.
Of course, yeah. And even think about Clash in Paris right now. I mean, there's so many big names that are not even on the card.
I believe the one poster that was for this show, only 4 of the people on that poster are even on this show.
Yeah, which is crazy to think. And Roman's one of those guys who's, quote unquote, a part-timer right now. No Cody, no Drew. Even the mid-card feuds on SmackDown, there's, no Damian Priest or Aleister Black. There's no Chelsea Green. There's no, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley. I mean, there's so many names that you would think are just always penciled in for PLEs. But that's okay, though, because they're not rushing something just to throw it on there. And I don't think that they will rush throwing things on there if they expand it to, 7, 8 matches. But I do think it gives them an opportunity to spotlight more. I mean, hell, who would have thought Sheamus and Rusev would have a PLE match, in Clash in Paris 6 weeks ago? Not many people.
And I think some of that is because they didn't get the Naomi match. But
yeah.
But to be fair, if this is a WrestlePalooza and they want to go 6, 7, 8 matches, it lends itself to, hey, we don't know if this would play, but we have the time. Let's give them 10 to 15 minutes and let's see what we got. Like if it's good, we can parlay that and continue that with momentum, in which normally with a card like this, you probably, wouldn't, you'd get the Donnybrook match on Raw. That'd be your semi-main or maybe even your main event. like your Miracle on 34th Street fight, stuff like
Yep.
that. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of on board with that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do because like I just thought about it. I'm like, man, WrestlePalooza. I know it's an ECW namesake, but you're telling people that it's going to be like a festival of wrestling.
Yeah.
You should have more than 5 matches on it if I'm running the show.
Well, and also you think about it. I mean, you're most likely going to have Cody and Drew. You're going to have Cena and Brock. Cena
Yeah.
and Brock could potentially be 10 to 12 minutes in the main event,
Yeah.
kind of similar to what the UFC, model is, where you're putting their heavy hitters at the end. They don't need to be up there for 25 minutes. This physical, quick, give you kind of everything you need. Maybe not as quick as Goldberg and Lesnar at WrestleMania 33 was like 5 or 6 minutes, but they had hit after hit after hit. You can easily do that with Cena and Lesnar, which opens up for 1 or 2 more matches if that match is 9 to 10 minutes.
I agree. And to further the PLE prediction show, let's talk Bronson Reed, Roman Reigns, 1-on-1, the OTC versus the Tribal Thief, as Paul Heyman has referred to him as. This is a very intriguing match on one hand because Roman Reigns is probably not going to be in the main event again. He opened up SummerSlam night 1, which is, I know that doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. If you're on the show, you're on the show. But it's Roman Reigns. This is a guy that carried WWE for the better part of 4 years in a row, through the pandemic, through the toughest of times. And now he's here to kind of build some new stars. So Bronson Reed getting this huge match on this PLE, man, the part in me that wants him to win sees that he already won by taking Roman's shoes. And that's my problem, is that like, this is Roman to get his, return on him and get the revenge and get the receipts. And Bronson Reed already kind of got his, upper hand with the shoe stealing. And I don't know. I just feel for a guy like Bronson Reed because he was put over so heavy by taking out Seth Rollins. And that's how they got this storyline to be a thing, is Seth handpicked Bronson Reed. I just don't see Roman Reigns losing this match. Be that as it may. No, I'm going to go with Roman Reigns is going to win this match. I want Bronson Reed to win this, but with Roman not being around every week or every PLE, it would really hurt him more to lose when he's not here all the time, even though him not being here all the time would dictate a loss, in my opinion. So, Josh, what are your thoughts on Roman and Bronson?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've been going back and forth here because in my mind, I can see Hunter being like, wow, Bronson getting a win over Roman. That's huge. And this is no discredit to Bronson because I think overall Bronson has done a fantastic job on making something so minuscule like stealing a pair of shoes and making it a thing. If it was Braun Breaker, I would pick Braun Breaker probably 9 times out of 10 against Roman Reigns, right? Like I think if Braun Breaker was the guy right now to face Roman, I think most people would think Braun would win because that's kind of I hate the term passing of the torch, but it's kind of like hey, you got to get this win. We got to build you up to be the next guy. And I love Bronson. I think Bronson is just as good, if not better. I think Bronson actually has more personality, to be honest with you.
Then Braun Breaker?
I think so.
I think, what are you just going to say, that Braun Breaker just barks?
No, I and this is not a discredit to Braun Breaker because I love Braun Breaker, but I think there's something about Bronson.
Like disparaging Braun Breaker.
No, I think, his math might not be great, but his personality is. But what I'm saying is, I think Bronson Reed, the things that he does when he does not talk is considerably more interesting than Braun Breaker just sitting there. And the one thing that I noticed on Raw this past week was Bronson's getting all fired up and ticked off. And for the longest time, that was kind of what they tried to do with Braun Breaker. And Braun was kind of just like quiet, right? Like Braun Breaker is a guy that I don't need personality until he flips the switch in the ring. But Bronson Reed is a guy that I have seen progressions in his personality where when Paul's saying something, he's reacting naturally and he's reacting like a D-bag. Like he's reacting as a heel like you should. And he's
Yeah.
a big guy. He's 330 pounds. But anyway, so my point is Bronson Reed just doesn't have the history, the background yet. The accolades of NXT coming in and being kind of, billed as the next big thing. So that's why I think Roman will win. But man, if Bronson picks up that victory, that says a lot, and that really helps the Vision. And the Vision, in my mind right now, they need to pick up wins. I just don't think it's going to be here, so I'm going Roman.
Oh man, I kind of want to change my answer because
I am persuasive.
y- thinking about Roman maybe not being here all the time, thinking about what potentially Survivor Series War Games could look like. If Roman Reigns is slated to be a part of that, would it not benefit the Vision more to take him out with a bunch of tsunamis in a really impactful win, even if Braun Breaker helps and does something to cost the Roman the match, and then Bronson lays him out? I could also see Bronson laying him out after losing, so I guess that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily matter. But
Yeah.
I think taking Roman Reigns out of action for an extended amount of time, and I know that's been the critique, is that Roman only is like a I'm going to save my friends guy now. Like
Yeah.
he comes out when he needs to, and he's not really a part of anything special. That's why I do think he kind of needs a win. Where like, is he even a part of the roster every week?
Yeah.
But man, I'm I'm changing my pick. I'm taking Bronson Reed to get the win over Roman
Ah,
Reigns.
look at
I don't.
us.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be wow like Lesnar and Cena where he just decimates him and wins. But I think Bronson Reed would benefit a lot from defeating a Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman's his manager now. Like it's not just Bronson Reed beating Roman Reigns. Like this is a guy that's been built up who took out Seth Rollins. They've done enough to me where I'm feeling it's not just some guy beating Roman. This guy has been built up as
Yeah.
a monster. And how you brought up and kind of talked about the promo ability with like Braun Breaker, like to bring some WCW into it, it makes it come off like Braun Breaker is like Goldberg in a way,
Mhm.
where he doesn't necessarily need to say much, but he says it all in the ring.
Yeah.
And Bronson Reed is kind of like Vader, where he can cut a very intense, insane promo and also can kill you in the ring.
Yeah.
So I think the best of both worlds there.
Yeah. And also, I think, looking at the Vision with the numbers game, Seth is obviously going to be there. Will he get involved? Probably. Will Braun Breaker? Probably, or one of the two. And Roman really only has, and looking at his backstage segment, he's only talking about his family. Like, does he expect Jay to save him, even though Jay has a championship match? Probably not. And that's an easy way for them to say, well, Roman got outnumbered. He didn't have help, but Jay was focusing on the world championship match. So it's not like you're wondering, why didn't Jay come out? Well, Jay has to focus on, if not the main event, the second biggest match of the night.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that. I mean, and isn't Jimmy kind of involved as well with the other bloodline, like the
Yeah.
MFT or whatever? So I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot going on to where, yeah, Roman, even if Jay came out there, you got Seth too. So that's an outnumbering thing with Braun Breaker kind of lurking, and he's going to be out there. And
Yeah.
I think you and I could probably agree that even though Bronson Reed is getting this one-on-one with Roman Reigns, Braun Breaker and Roman Reigns could be that marquee match potentially at a WrestleMania, if not
Yeah.
maybe a SummerSlam or something. So,
Yep.
or Royal Rumble. So, I mean, that is you kind of want to plant some seeds of wow, Bronson Reed maybe got the win, but Braun Breaker was the guy that maybe took him out and
Yep.
kind of set that up, which all helps Seth Rollins in the end. And that could lead to Roman coming back, mowing, going through Bronson and Braun to get to Seth. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds for all those guys? But I
Yep.
like where we're going. I like that we're kind of helping each other. You made me change my mind, even though you're going with Roman. So I like it.
I am persuasive.
He can be pedantic. He can be pedantic. All right, 2 matches left. We're going to go with the non-title match, even though it's potentially somewhat more important in the long term here. But John Cena only has a few more of these. John Cena takes on Logan Paul. These larger than life, like celebrities are one-on-one. These are, your friends got kids. They probably know who Logan Paul and John Cena are and probably wouldn't refer to them as wrestlers yet.
Mhm.
Now they both are firmly in the wrestling realm. Logan Paul's pretty much full-time and Cena's closing the door on his career. I really have enjoyed the promo battles that Cena and Paul have had, to where Cena's had to elevate his game. I love this past week where he said, look, you came in here to promote Prime. We know why you came here. Now, sure, you're full-time now, but you can't deny why you first got into this whole thing. You had the Prime bottle at WrestleMania on the mat, and you had KSI and Speed, and you had all these things. And it was a facade. We know why you came here. You can't act like you're not.
Yeah.
And I'm closing the door on my chapter. They all know why I'm here, and I'm letting everybody know when I'm leaving. So I love this, but you and I both know that Brock Lesnar is lurking. We both know that at the end of SmackDown, depending on which segment you saw, whether it was the first Logan Paul punch from the side or the edited punch from in front of John Cena. I don't know if you caught that.
Yep.
But that was after Nick Aldis mentioned that, hey, I had heard from Brock Lesnar, and so they cut that off. I don't know if Lesnar's going to interfere in this match or what, but I can almost guarantee he will be after John Cena, during, after, before this match, something to set up WrestlePalooza. Ultimately, I think John Cena is going to win this, but I don't think he's going to win the war with Brock Lesnar. What say you?
I agree. Yeah, I think Cena wins. There's a case to be made for Logan Paul to pick up a victory because he loses more than he wins.
Sure.
But that's okay because he's a heel. So 10 losses and he gets that one big win, which could be against John Cena. But I think Brock Lesnar does make an appearance in Paris. I think there's an opportunity for WWE to have him cost Cena the match and Cena get, ticked off, and then you set up WrestlePalooza. But my gut just tells me that Cena's going to win this match. He's going to shut up Logan Paul. He's going to be happy. He's going to celebrate. And then you have the Brock Lesnar, music hit. They can brawl a little bit. Cena gets a couple of punches in, maybe puts him up for an AA, but maybe he doesn't hit it. And there's an F5. And that's really where you really get to the next step, which is WrestlePalooza. I'm going to go John Cena for this as well.
And I can see where you're coming from. Like, look, I mean, just like with Bronson Reed, damn, wouldn't that be crazy if Logan Paul got the victory? And I could see a world where Lesnar interferes or like his music hits something. Look, the referee can get knocked down potentially, and Cena could get distracted. And if that could set up the Lesnar match, because I think ultimately Cena would beat Lesnar this time around.
Yeah.
To get that ultimate big win against one of his former foes, because I see no real reason for Lesnar to go over against Cena in that particular moment. That you could set that up by having Logan Paul beat Cena. I think that'd be very interesting. But look, if we're talking on the same card, Bronson Reed beating Roman Reigns and Logan Paul beating John Cena, that ain't happening, pal.
It's not happening.
No way. So give me John Cena, and let's look ahead to WrestlePalooza and see what things hold for Cena's future with 10 dates left. Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I really hope, and I feel like it's going to be, well, I selfishly want this, but Cena and Lesnar on opposite sides of a War Games, I think, is such a cool potential thing. So hopefully that's where they go, but we'll see. It's only August, but we're almost into September. We have one more match to go in this 5-match show. This is a big one. Fatal 4-Way, World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Seth Rollins defends against CM Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. This is LA Knight's third or fourth, I think, big opportunity like this. I know he had another Fatal 4-Way when Rowan was champion, among some other opportunities. Jey Uso recently was champion. CM Punk was also recently champion, but only for a brief moment. Briefly. And I've really enjoyed the CM Punk trying to rally Jay and LA Knight, only to be not only rebuffed, by them, but Jey Uso delivering a super kick to CM Punk at the end of Raw this past week.
Yeah.
I like the veteran being like, guys, Seth Rollins is out of his mind. And Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker are going to be out there or near there or could affect this. And it's not that I need you guys to be on my team, but can't we all agree that Seth should, get his ass out of there? And LA Knight's wants nothing of it. He's been on this ascent on his own. He wants to win a championship finally, a world championship. And Jey Uso's royally pissed off because he was champion, then he lost it all of a sudden, and now he's second fiddle. No, he doesn't want to be involved with that. He's already shared the womb. He doesn't want to share a title. So I like that CM Punk's kind of alienating himself here. I don't see Seth Rollins losing though. I don't think that's the name of the game. I think Seth's going to hold this for a little longer than the month that he's held it thus far, less than. It would have been 28 days, 29 days. So I don't know when that happens. I don't know when Seth ends up losing it. Like I brought up, maybe Roman is that guy down the line though. So I think Seth Rollins wins this, but give me your prediction, Josh. And then I'd like you to just quickly surmise what you think would be next for a Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. Do they feud with each other there, or do they all have their own separate feuds going forth?
Man, that's a great question, Juice. I think when you look at just the multiple people that Seth Rollins has been in a feud with, right? Jay, Punk, LA Knight. I think LA Knight, it's interesting to me because he's kind of been the fourth wheel in a weird way because he's kind of been himself, but portrayed more as a heel because of the power of CM Punk. I don't think he's going to turn heel, but I think that they really booked him in an odd situation here. Like he's like the most desperate, right? Because he's the only one that's never been a world champion. I don't think he wins, but I think when you move forward, you see Monday Night Raw and you see obviously, Sammy's on SmackDown now, LA Knight's on Raw. I can see them doing an LA Knight versus a Braun or a Bronson, which I don't think does him any favors. But I can see that kind of continuing, like him trying to get his way back to a championship match against Seth Rollins. Kind of with Jay as well. Those two guys might continue to feud, and then maybe you get Punk and Seth at WrestlePalooza, maybe you get Punk and Seth at a later date. It's a tough one for me. I think Seth wins, but the opportunity for them to pull something off shocking in Paris is here because Seth could lose without being pinned. So does that make him less of a champion? Not really, but at the same time, it's only been, less than a month. So that Money in the Bank cash in kind of, goes away a little bit in terms of importance. But I think overall, I think Seth wins this. I think Seth hooks and crooks his way. I think Seth pins Jey Uso. That's what I'm going to say here.
Okay.
I don't think Punk takes the pin. I think Punk and LA Knight will actually kind of eliminate each other at the end. And somehow, some way, Jay gets screwed over and, Seth Rollins pins Jey Uso. So I'm going to go with Seth. I don't know what they do after. Like, I don't know if you have, Seth and LA or Seth and Jay to prolong the inevitable, match with Seth Rollins and CM Punk and then Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. If it's me, I'll be honest with you. Like, there's a good opportunity that Seth and Roman could main event WrestleMania next year. Or they could do the triple threat match with Seth, Roman, and Punk for the title next year.
Wow.
Because I do think there's an opportunity where, maybe they give Roman obstacles to overcome, or maybe, one of the two or win the Royal Rumble and Seth's still champion and somehow they insert themselves. I mean, hell, we've seen weirder, crazier things happen, but would you hate the fact if those three faced each other at WrestleMania for the World Championship? I wouldn't. And that actually, for the first time, make that title just as, if not more important, than the WWE Championship.
And that would be purely based on the fact that they had arguably the best match of WrestleMania weekend this past weekend, like that past year.
Yep.
And the fact that they've already had such a crazy, great match with the story built in of Heyman turning on both of his guys to align with Seth. Now it's like you're now fully seeing it unfold where not only did that happen, but Seth became champion. and has run roughshod, and they made a group out of it, and he hasn't lost it yet. And now Punk and Roman have found their way, whether it be Chamber or the Rumble, to
Yeah.
get back to that. You have the same match, but now Paul is in Seth's corner to start. I think
Yeah.
that's riveting. And I don't know if you crown Roman there or if you give Punk his ultimate moment there,
Yeah.
but I like that scenario to be, available. If it's not Punk, Jay, or LA Knight, who do you think Seth should take on next?
Hmm. That's a tough question.
It would be WrestlePalooza if he has a match.
Yeah.
You could do a tag, you could do a 6-man. I don't know.
I think he'd have a match though. If he's not having a match here for the championship, and Cody's not having a match here at the championship, I think they load that up and they have 2 world championship matches. I mean, it's funny because you say all this and we talk about these things 5-6 months down the road. We're forgetting about one big piece. When is Gunther coming back? And will Gunther come back as a face? Because he was screwed out of his championship. So not screwed out, but with Punk winning and then Seth coming in, so not really screwed out of it. But
it was a hard fought match though, and for Gunther to lose it is admirable, especially for his character just being the wrestler's wrestler. But for him to sit there and see that the guy who he lost to lost it in less than 5 minutes has to stick in his craw. And I like it. I'd like if Gunther came back as a face. I don't know if he would win, but I liked him coming back as a face.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he could be an option, but it goes back to you have this massive story for the world championship where all these names are being floated out there. And then you have Gunther that's not even, around since SummerSlam. And then you have, can, one of the 3 guys in this fatal 4-way, Seth excluded, or Gunther be John Cena's last opponent? There's so many options. And if Gunther's his last opponent and he wins, how can you not give him a world championship match? So that's the big thing, I think, with Monday Night Raw. With SmackDown, they don't really have a lot of people lined up for Cody Rhodes. I think Drew's a great opponent for him. I wouldn't be surprised if Drew somehow won the championship in, controversial fashion where, 1, 2, 3 months down the road, he picks that championship up, just to give Cody another obstacle to overcome. But with this, I think the biggest thing you need to do is you need Seth to just be consistent. Whether he wins, loses, cleanly, cheaply, whatever it is, have him be consistent. And if you really believe in Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, you can't have them not have a championship. I'll be honest. I think Braun and Bronson could be tag team champions. And you kind of have, quote unquote, an evolution type look where everybody has gold. And it's more important when you have the world champion and 2 other guys behind him that are very close to Seth, not the longevity, but very close to him in importance and future, like an Evolution, compared to like a Judgment Day with an IC title and tag titles, because, those guys have been around for a while, but there's a lot of intrigue, man. There's a lot of options and a lot of intrigue.
And I think ultimately to close out the match portion here, there is so much more depth in the World Heavyweight Championship picture for a title that you and I both just agreed is the second title. But by WrestleMania, if things kind of come to where we could see them, it could be right up there with the Cody Rhodes or, whoever's holding the WWE Championship, because by next year, John Cena will not be anchoring that championship's title picture. He won't be there. So it will have to be a Cody, a Randy, a Drew, someone else we might not be thinking of. And when you look at the other side, man, and I'm just going to piggyback and answer my own question with what I asked you. For Seth Rollins, I'm not sure who he faces next, but I am here for especially look, if we start getting 6, 7, 8 match PLEs, give me an undercard where you get a CM Punk versus LA Knight. CM Punk versus Jey Uso, LA Knight, Jey Uso. Like, give me these one-on-ones that, like, who is the next contender? Give me straight up number 1 contender matches or grudges. Some reason for these guys to claw back for the world title as Seth is still defending it. And, maybe you get a point where not just Punk, but Jey and LA Knight all are like, man, without someone kind of sticking together at some way with Seth there, he's got Bronson, Braun, and Paul. It's going to be very difficult to dethrone him. So someone's got to do it.
Yep.
Making it a very intriguing fall, I have to say.
I agree.
So all in all, Josh, 5 matches on this card. I think we've done a pretty good job at, speculating, pre-planning for all the way to WrestleMania next year. As we normally do with every single PLE, we predict well in advance because that's the fun of it. It's always cool and interesting to an extent to predict what happens at these certain shows. But to me, and I think you definitely agree, Josh, and I feel like I've known that for probably since I've ever known you. It's always more intriguing to try to guess what's next because it's more unknown. But that there has to be Raw's going to be there the next day. There's a PLE in 30 days. Like the pro wrestling world does not have an off season. And it's always very intriguing to see where WWE puts their chips. So what say you just overall on this PLE? 2 p.m. start time, Sunday before Labor Day. I love this.
Yeah, me too. I love it. I'm excited for the future guys that can get a potential big win. I'm excited for them just being consistent with, the main event card. Raw could be very, similar every week whenever what's going to happen at the end for the past 2 or 3 weeks. But overall, I think they did a really good job at building out the undercard, building out the main events. And I'm excited to see what happens because this really is, again, another international PLE, which will feel much more important than a roadblock end of the line in Pittsburgh, or whatever the PLEs in the States would typically be. So good for them to continue to go international. It's going to feel better. It's going to feel bigger. And I'm excited to see what happens.
Absolutely. On Twitter, he is at Josh Isenberg 4. I am at Juicy Steen. Hopefully everybody enjoys Clash in Paris and their Labor Day weekend. We are so close to football, I can almost taste it. But wrestling is all year round, baby. And can't wait to talk WrestlePalooza with you next, Josh. So for Josh Eisenberg, I'm Juice Springsteen, and you've been listening to the Clash in Paris PLE prediction show right here on The Juice Box. That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.